What's up, everybody? Monday. Interesting title. Don't get too crazy. I'm not on the NFTs just yet. I think the multiverse, not the metaverse, the multiverse. They have me thinking about the hobby a little bit. Um, this weekend, I was home, doing stuff with the kids. I was home. Um, we watched some movies, cleaned the house up a little bit, did a little laundry. You know, did a little work. Just back from vacation, kind of doing stuff at the house that, needs to get done. Spring around the corner. So, but of course, if you look around, there were a bunch of shows this weekend. I mean, the Philly show it's only like a 3 hour drive for me. So it's not like around the corner. I've done it a couple of times and definitely, watched content from it and, was considering going. And I spent a lot of time on IG. I watched the Sports Card Radio's Thursday video. I watched some auction content. I bid on some auction. Actually, won something this weekend. Um, Watched a lot of breaking content. Talked to some folks who were at the show. Heard that the traffic, the Philly show was really good. A lot of people there. That kind of stuff. Opened up some Pokemon cards with Ian this week. Opened up, a bunch of stuff. And it's interesting, right? So the title, the hobby multiverse, is I've been doing a lot of thinking about the hobby, and I'm wondering whether I would have gone to the show, a year ago, 2 years ago. I'm wondering, what the real gasoline on the hobby fire was 4 or 5 years ago that got it to ignite, and what it's going to look like going forward, and going through all of the content, going through all of the, talking to people at the show, you name it, um, that saying of, hobby your own way, or there's no right way to hobby, it's kind of where I am, right? So I got to tell you, I'm trying to get my thought out on podcast here. I mean, there are definitely people who are listening who understand what I'm saying, because basically the starting point is I don't feel the same way about the hobby as I did during COVID. All right. And I know I'm not the only one. And I want to kind of pull that apart a little bit and try to think about why. And, from a personal standpoint, subjectively, and then we can take a look at it objectively as well, right? So, subjectively, uh, during COVID, just stuck here doing nothing, didn't have as much life going on. My son was 6, he's now 10, going on 11. It was very easy for me to say, hey, we're going to do cards now. We're going to open up cards. We're going to build a card collection. Whereas now he's playing Fortnite and he's playing Pokemon Go and he's out throwing a ball around with friends and playing basketball in the front on our hoop. And, also, I am able to do more things, go on vacation, got work, um, you know, so I don't know if it's personally, subjectively, a different way of looking at the hobby. I also, obviously it is, but also just the general feel in the hobby, the general makeup of the hobby is, I believe, very different. And maybe that's my fault. Maybe it's because I'm looking at other things in the hobby than what I was before. Or maybe the hobby has just turned. I say it's the multiverse. Think about the Spider-Man movies, right? The ones with Miles Morales, where there's multiple Spider-Men across different universes. I think of the hobby that way. I think that, depending upon who you are and what you want out of the hobby, you can come at it and be many different versions of the hero of the story. You know, there are breakers, there are collectors, your traditional Spider-Man. There are people who have businesses in the hobby. There are, vintage collectors. There are people who are doing the flippy dippy game. There are people who I guess, are just professional content makers. None of it is wrong. But let me tell you why I kind of, started thinking like this. People who came in the hobby a couple of years ago, um, they saw a different hobby. No fanatics, right? Different licensing issues, not as much litigation. Um, you could say that there was gambling, but I think there's a lot more gambling now. And I think the gambling now is also spurred on by the fact that there's just more and more and more of the stuff to chase. We're talking about it with the Bedard, right? But this is something a content creator shouldn't do. But I'm going to ask you to stop playing this episode. But I'm going to tell you why. And then take a couple of minutes and come back and we'll finish the episode. But what I want you to do is I want you to go on IG right now. All right. And just thumb through the stuff that you follow. Thumb through the stuff that shows up on your feed. And I want you to count how many Wemby hits you see. It's a lot. It's a lot. I was doing this on IG right before starting this episode. And it's this breaker hitting a prism orange. It's this breaker hitting a prism blue. Bang! We did it again. And another one. And another one. And this breaker hitting a Monopoly Prism Wemby Gold Shimmer. And this one hitting a Mr. Monopoly Running Man, Walking Man, White out of 175 Prism. And this one Elite, the 1 of 1. And this one pulling the black 1 of 1 and going to PSA with it and and shouting out Kurt's Card Care. So much of it. There's so much of this product out there. There's so many of them. And nobody is opening this stuff and saying, I want to open this and keep it. And I'm no exception. My son and I opened a bunch of MLS soccer recently. Finest case, top paper case, top chrome case. And listen, I'd love to be altruistic and say, no. But if we would have hit a Messi 1 of 1, a Messi gold, if we would have hit something really big, we would have sold it. We would have sold it. Now, we hit some Messi base cards and we're keeping those. He's got a Messi 10. I got a Messi 10. We'll just hang on to them with little goats in the background. And those are cool and cute. And they'll be in our PC. But we were opening it to try to hit that Messi 1 of 1. I opened the hockey not to put those cards in my collection. I opened hockey to hopefully get the $1 million Connor Bedard. So there's nothing wrong with it. It's just so pervasive now. And I wonder what the end game of that is. And it's okay. That's one part of the hobby multiverse, the gambling side, the breaking so that you can hope to hit something that's worth more than what you put in. But that's not collecting. And some would say that it's probably a misnomer to say that's part of the hobby. The hobby is something you spend time doing, collecting. I don't know anybody who calls gambling a hobby, right? I don't know anybody who calls sports gambling a hobby. I mean, I guess maybe, maybe people don't talk about it too much. But there's a reason why so many people have gone from breaking directly into the gambling content. I even did some of it myself at the bidding of my former co-host. I was the prop king because it made sense and it was exciting, and you kind of chase that stuff. But all that stuff, you go left a little bit, right? And I think the hobby has gone left, and I find myself sometimes jumping from the hobby universe that I came into, the one that I enjoyed, the one where I was chasing 1933 Gaudi cards to build up my collection, Babe Ruth and vintage baseball cards, to where I was, buying, grading, and trying to flip Prism base cards. There's nothing wrong with it. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. Right? But while I enjoyed doing that because it turned into a nice little bit of money that I could use to, buy the cards that I really wanted, I now feel like I don't have the time to do it. I don't feel like I'm getting the same amount of enjoyment out of it. I don't feel like it's, the same draw for me for the hobby. I'm not saying I'm going to stop, gluing model airplanes together or anything like that. But it's just something that was on my mind, and something, some folks have DM'd me about, the love for it, the nostalgia for it. And if you're feeling the same way, I know a lot of you are, even though I don't know if I'm even making too much sense here, to be honest with you. I go back to my own little hobby audit, and I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to take out every card that I own. Seriously, take out every card that I own, every slab, every non-slab, every slab I own, and I'm going to go through them. This will take a weekend day, maybe, a couple weeknights. And I'm going to say, this card here, is this something I enjoy owning? Is it something I want to own? Is it something that the next time I look at my collection, I want to make sure is still here? And if the answer is no, I'm going to sell it. Easy. Doesn't mean I'm getting out of collecting. To the contrary. Because here's the fun part of the hobby multiverse. I got to get back to the universe and the hobby that I enjoy. Because these other alternate universes, the breaking, the buying your FOTL box to gamble, the buying hockey, ultimately, while it's fun for a minute, after I think about it, I'm confused about what it is that I'm doing there. I'm confused about why I'm in that hobby universe and not in my own. Not in the one where I feel most comfortable, not in the one where I get the most enjoyment and where I want to spend my time. So I'm going to do that audit. And then more importantly, the second phase of it is something I talked to somebody about where they were, I'm going to buy this card, I'll buy that card. And I said, listen, it's emotional buying that you're doing there. You're seeing somebody post that this card never comes up for sale. And it's not even a card that you wanted. It's not even a card you wanted. So what are you doing? They asked me, well, what do you do to combat that? And I'm guilty. Trust me, I'm not perfect. I have sold cards at a loss that I've emotionally bought over the last couple of years that I had to clean out and just get back to zero, right? Just get back to starting over on it. Stretched for a card that, wow, looked so great in that moment. But 6 months later, why did I even buy this thing? So here's what I did. And maybe this is something you can use. Maybe it'll recenter you or bring you back to the right hobby universe for you. And I hope the person I told this to uses this as well, because, they, like me, buy cards and then 6 months later, they're repositioning their collection, selling it again, and most likely selling for a loss. If you're like me, and a lot of you are, you have a wish list. The best way to get to that wish list right now, the coffin cards, the collector in you. Close your eyes and think, but don't think too long. Don't get too crazy. Don't get too creative. And think to yourself, what are the cards that the child version of you would have wanted? And what are the cards you want now? And literally take a pen and a pencil or use the note app on your phone. I don't want to be too old. But you're going to write a list. You're going to write a top 5 list of the 5 cards and the grade that you want that card in, whether it's a 54 Hank Aaron rookie card or whether it's a National Treasures out of 99 Ant-Man RPA, whatever it may be. What do you want? What grade? And how much do you want to pay for? Important stuff. And start with 5. All right? Set a budget. Set a reasonable budget. Doesn't mean you have to have that budget now. Not for all 5 of them. Maybe you have the budget for 1 or 2 or 3. You have the budget for all 5. It's okay if you don't have the budget for all 5, because what you're going to do is you're going to go through your cards and you're going to sell some stuff and it's going to add to your budget. But more importantly, you're going to make a promise to yourself to stay in this hobby universe. You're not going to take your money out to, where Spider-Man is a cross-dresser. You're going to stay in your own hobby universe for a couple minutes. And your 5 cards are going to be your target. And you're not going to buy until one of those 5 cards becomes available. And hopefully you're able to bid on it and win it for the price you're willing to pay. Maybe you're able to buy it now, make an offer, negotiate. And here's the cool part. Once you check one off, you're able to add another one to that list. Now, I've been doing this for a little while. My collection has never been more fun. I got a fun list. I actually told this person I was giving this advice to what my 5 cards are right now, what the grades are on the whole deal. Not shocking to you, I'm sure. It's mostly vintage baseball heavy in high-ish grade. But there are cards that I never had. There are cards I want to own. And I'll be selling cards and I'll be repositioning and staying in my own hobby universe where I'm having fun. Now, this may not be for everyone. I saw a cool post. I forget who it was. It might be Tim Duncan, T Duncan 21, right? Tim Duncan PC 21. I'm saying your name wrong, but it was a cool thing, and I'll end it on this, right? Because I don't know what the right answer is also, and it's also talking about which universe of the hobby you feel most comfortable in, right? The question being asked on the story was, would you rather buy 1 or 2 big cards a year, or would you rather buy a bunch of smaller cards over the course of the year? And again, this is a very personal question for you. Maybe you do a little bit of both. And the thought process being that if you're only buying those 1 or 2, you might be happy because you own those 1 or 2, but do you really feel like a, quote, hobby participant? Do you feel like you're really engaging in the hobby? Do you feel like you're really, out there engaging in the hobby? And let me answer it my own way. I would say that I've engaged too much in that daily buy and sell, maybe for content purposes, maybe to prove that you are that hobby participant so you can show, look what I got. Look what I bought. Look what I won this weekend. Look what I bought. More often than not, those cards, those smaller cards, are the ones that when I do my own little audit of my PC, I'm just selling. They're not cards I needed. They're not cards I needed to buy. They're cards I bought because I wanted to buy something because I was bored and signed on to the THWC auction and said, this one looks like a bargain. Or signed on to Golden and said, this is too cheap. They don't fit with my actual collection. They don't fit into the hobby universe that I want to spend my time in. So I would probably lean towards being more patient. And what's funny is I would say that that's where I'm getting more enjoyment. That art of the hunt. Being able to be patient, being able to try to locate the card you want, waiting for it to come up. And what I have found is that if you do that and you're willing to wait, you're also probably willing to hold that card for a while and it doesn't come for sale again. And if you do wind up selling it in 2, 3, 5, or 8 years, more likely than not, it's going to sell for more than what you paid for it. That makes sense, right? And that's it. A little craziness with the multiverse. I hope you get what I'm saying here. It's kind of where my brain was. Kind of centering on the hobby, kind of coming back to, what it is that I enjoy, trying to figure it out as I go, just as you guys are too. It is a crazy space. It is a crazy hobby. I think we need to show off our cards a little more, the ones that we plan on keeping forever, the ones that just don't get seen, more than showing off the folks who are coming to an event. Probably don't even own any cards. But any event, that's just me. Take it for what it's worth. Talk to you guys soon. Can't believe I've done 124 of these episodes. We are a couple weeks away, less than a month away from a full year, a full season, I will call it, of Hobby with Cage. And we'll come up on year 2. Maybe we'll do a giveaway for a full year of the Hobby with Cage. You guys tell me what you think. Some good ideas, something to give away. I appreciate each and every one of you guys listening to this. The last episode that we did about your LCS closing, that did numbers. That on audio especially, man, that people really like that one. I got a lot of feedback from both sides. Eye-opening stuff. And it's just, listen, guys, for right now, this is where my brain is. And I'm sure a lot of people out there are in the same space because stocks are ripping. Crypto is ripping, right? People have other things to spend their money on. People have other things they need to do. There is a macroeconomic fear out there, and everybody is wondering whether or not this is the place that you want to spend your money and spend your time. I know it's on my brain. If it's on my brain, I know it's on your brain as well. So this is kind of just me coming on here and telling you what I'm thinking. I'm not going anywhere, but sometimes I got to make sure that I recenter and get myself back in the right hobby universe. And hopefully you guys will join me here. Talk to you guys soon. Take care.